Welcome to the South Broadway Library feature of the Poets in the Library series. My name is Mary Oishi. I am the Poet Laureate of Albuquerque, and today we have two featured poets who live in the vicinity of the South Broadway Library. The first is Marcial Delgado. Marcial Delgado is a poet, devoted husband, and construction worker from Albuquerque. He is the host and organizer for Voices of the Barrio open mic poetry at El Chante, Casa de Cultura in Albuquerque. In 2017, he became the Albuquerque Slam City Champion and was part of the 2017 Albuquerque Slams team, champions of the Southwest Shootout Regional Group Piece in Laredo, Texas. In 2019, he was on the Mindwell Slam team that participated in the Southern Fried Regional Poetry Slam in North Carolina. His poetry has also been featured in Burque Soul, Desert Blood, published by Two Pens and Lint. Those Poets Are All Bad, Huh? Collaborative Art and Fire Spitting, and Stronger Than Stigma Poetry from the 2019 Mindwell Poetry Slam team. In early 2020, Marcial captured the Mindwell Slam Albuquerque City Championship. Marcial's first full collection, Sell Me Insanity, published by Swimming with Elephants, was released in 2019. He says he is just a vato from the barrio who fell in love with writing and poetry. Please welcome Marcial Delgado.
Thank you, Mary. Them two vatos. Why are them two vatos over there staring at me? With their blue bandanas covering their eyes, wife beater style underwear and creased down tan dickies. Tattoos cover the skin of their bodies, and each wear a pair of black Nike Cortez on their feet. They just keep on looking my way. If chingazos are what these two pendejos are looking for, pues here I am. And I'm always ready to throw. I'll show them what being a vato loco is really about, porque sabes que? Yo también soy del barrio loco, and believe me, this crazy vato has been around. But what if they're packing heat? Then them two vatos have got me beat. I've always had that premonition that my fate was a puddle of my own blood out on the street. Why do them two vatos just keep on dogging me? It's starting to piss me off, and it's really making me angry. From the back of the bus, their eyes are locked and penetrating. I got my filero in my back pocket. If they want my feria, pues they're gonna have to try and take it. Come on, driver, press on the gas. Get this bus moving. Let me off of this bus before one of us gets knocked the heck out. But what am I so scared about? They're nothing but a pair of two-bit punks, wannabe cholos and fake-ass thugs. I'll slap the smirks right off their filthy mugs. Son of a gun. They're standing up. If this is the end, so be it. I guess my life is short. I guess my time is up. Them two vatos walk my way with dangerous grins, a gangster's stride of pride and a dignified rhythm. Protectors of their barrio, fueled by forgotten innocence. They sit and rest their pinta-style tattoo bodies in the vacancies that surround me. And quickly, they converse with me. My fist was tightly clenched as the first vato began to speak. I don't think you remember me, homie, but we saw you at my prima's party. You were standing behind a mic and spitting some firme poetry. I just want to say gracias, carnal, because your words have inspired me. You took my mind away from the gangs and away from the street. You helped me realize that my life belongs to my family. I've enrolled in community college, and I'm working on a degree in Chicano studies. He offered his grip to my hand, and I realized that his eyes were not the eyes of a cholo or a punk. Instead, he had the eyes of a strong Chicano man. Now we sit in unity and listen to each other's stories and even engage in a few laughs as this city bus makes its way to this asphalt-paved land. A few stops and these two vatos reach their destination. We part ways and we say adios. I was ashamed of myself that day. I misjudged the reflection of the words I put out on display. My spirit was burnt by the spark of an overreactive surge. I let myself be driven by fear and hurt. Them two vatos are all I ever wished to be. They're kind, they're courageous, and they're cool. And on that day, I let myself play the fool. Thank you. This next one is called American Enough. I think I'm the only person to call me an American. I've been called a spick, beaner, wetback, Latino, and Hispanic. I think I've been called Mexican-American by someone, somewhere before. Still, I was only seen as half an American. My mother's familia has been working these lands for almost 5 centuries. They planted their seeds. And our roots grew deeper than any piñon tree up in Chilili, even before Santa Fe was the capital city. But my blood on this land even goes further than that, for you see, I am part indigenous like the black bear, the yucca, the rocks, and the trees, yet, as an American, I may never be seen by anybody. Every single weekday morning for 13 years, I pledged my heart to the Stars and Stripes. I memorized every word in Spanish and in English. I pledged my allegiance in 2 different languages. With my right hand placed across my chest, I could still taste those sweet words falling from my tongue. Yet I'm still not American, you know. Do you know how it feels to be told you don't belong in this country? Yes, my father, he crossed the border illegally. He went by the alias name of Joaquin. He came to this country when he was 17, and today, he's 71. He lost his wife to a killer disease. He raised 4 boys alone, and he sacrificed for his family. And he never asked for food stamps or welfare, as some would love to believe. Yet, as Americans, we may never be seen by anybody. It was said that my people are stealing jobs, even though we are the workforce behind the economy. They spit on our culture and condone the separation of our families. They call our cousins illegal, but how can anyone on this entire earth be illegal? Especially in the home of the brave and the land of the free. Some think of us with hate and spite while hiding behind bumper stickers supporting humanity. Freedom was not given to my people as the rest of the world was led to believe. Oh no, our freedom was one fighting out on the streets, protests, boycotts, walkouts, and the organization of our communities, tear gas beatings and police shooting, all for human rights and civil liberties. Why must anyone have to fight for the right to be a human being? We love and we support the American military, yet as Americans, we may never be seen by anybody. Native American, Afro-American, Asian American, or Mexican American. I believe it's simpler if we're all just known as American. Is it because fry bread is more American to me than apple pie? Is it because every time I listen to Volver, Volver by Vicente Fernandez, I begin to cry? Is it because my heart bleeds red, white, and blue, but my mind thinks red, white, and green? Perhaps simply it's because I'm in love with my heritage, and I'm proud of my father's nationality. For all those who question my patriotism and doubt my being, buzz off, because I'm everything America means. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that wonderful poetry, Marcial. Our second featured poet is Ana C. Martinez. Ana Martinez is a local civil rights attorney, poet, mother, and grandmother raised in Española, New Mexico. First published in 2014 in anthologies La Palabra, The Word is Woman, and Lowriding, Shots, Rides, and Stories from the Chicano Soul, with artists such as Lalo Alcaraz, Gustavo Arellano, and Albuquerque Poet Laureate Emeritus Manuel Gonzalez. Ana is currently working on publishing her first book of poetry, Pura Puta, a poetic memoir, through Casa Urraca Press, to be released on June 7th, 2022. Ana has held titles as Albuquerque's XXX Haiku Champion. She is Chicana Slam Champ and is on the board of directors for Burque Revolt Slam LLC. She opens her home for free to traveling poets. Please welcome Ana Martinez.
Thank you so much, Mary. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me. The first poem was inspired by my mom. Corrido de Lucia Alma. My mom, Lucia Alma, her name means light of the soul. And back in the day, nothing lit up her soul like Little Richard's real rock and roll. Y ahí les va el corrido de Lucia, with a flip of her long sponge roller curls shining like licorice and a smack of her always lipsticked lips. She flips through the pile, picks, smiles, slowly slips vinyl from its sleeve, caresses the edges between palms, blows for old dust, holds out the label, shines it on her sleeve, sets it with reverence on the turntable platter in a manner of sacrificial feast to that music beast, Magnavox, console stereo, whose dropped needle always finds the wax smooth of the right groove, yet crackle wrinkles from battle scars of so many sunset to sunrise, Spañada, drinking, spilling, 45, flipping, spinning, twisting, cackling, smoking, España, Saturday nights. Que chulita te, looking out my, por lo mucho que te can't get no color TV, 'cause dialing $4 picked a fine time to leave. Lucy knew all the words, but she had to memorize them first. She would toss her 5 kids outside, lock the door behind, too nice to be inside. She'd pull out her pad and write and memorize and sing it high and try it low and do it again. Lower lip pinched white between her teeth. She slipped her thumb under that stylus to lift, go back, slip it into the right groove, verse, sing line for line, etched into her mind and out the window, recorded for all of time in mine. In bass rumbles and treble tremors, that Magnavox rocked the entire neighborhood. Vecinos, escuela, plaza, morada, iglesia, convento de la Villa Nueva, de la Santa Cruz, de la Cañada. But for now, she's got a plan. She sends him out for another bottle of wine and a 6-pack of Cracker Jack, because I get 2 boxes to babysit. But I would do it for free, just to get my hands on those LPs and 45s tucked inside that Magnavox stereo console beast, where she would rack up a stack of 45s, post in front of the mirror before he arrives, and in a pink can Aquanet aerosol cloud, her beehive came to life. Styling, singing, Maybelline, false eyelashes, smacked lips garnet red, a buzzard going in her head, a knockout, known by guys for miles around for her tiny waist and her healthy thighs, but she's got a man. She just wanna dance, and all dolled up, he does not stand a chance. Once he's back, she insists, he's convinced, can't resist, as she holds out her hand to lift him off the couch for a bit of practice. Hands on her waist, hers on his hips, bit her lips, steps 1, 2, cha-cha-cha. She guides him, 'cause his hands and he's watching his feet. And 1, 2, cha-cha-cha, let's do it again. But hon, he rolls his eyes. 1, 2, he drops her hands. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha, he stomps her toe. But hon, but she's not through yet. She pulls up her skirt for a bit of slip to slip, dips her knees, sways her hips to let this dance off begin. Okay, so mashed potato then. Do the twist, the swim, the jerk, hitchhike, stroll, got to pony like Boney Maroney, do the Watusi. She knows them all, his little Lucy. Hell, he can't help but grin that she'd do it again, and they spin. Eye to eye, nose to nose, chin to chin, hip to hip, then lip to lip, just in time for Friday night at that dive at the end of Riverside Drive, the bright neon sign calling out to both saints and sinners. Thank you. This next one was inspired by my father, my mother gave me the gift of song, my dad gave me the gift of activism, and the curse of there's no men out there that compare to him, and so yeah, this is for him. That night, Zapata washed my feet. Handlebar whiskers scratched the itch between my legs like myth, reflected in the moon on the mesa like tongue of silver sage reaching as he rides and rides underneath the moon's watchful breath, rides and rides all night. Calor de aliente, respiras caliente, wings of exhale lead the way, the smell of earth and dirt disturbed into flight by those 4 legs, forged in steel like hands carved from the dust that flies to the beat of the earth. This land belongs to those who work it with their hands, mi campesino, where it was law that money ruled all. You took it back, you gave it back, planted fields and acequias, planted schools and campesino credit unions, self-ruling communitarian democracy. Un pueblo unido. The politic of confidence always incites betrayal. The city's full of sidewalks, you say, and I'm always falling off of them, but pay no mind to that. What with 20,000 soldiers you overthrew the capital, capitan, not in rape and plunder, but thirst and hunger. Tráeme ese hambre comandante, ese sed de injusticias que te esperan mis botas a pie, y sobre el llano te llama mi llanto, y te dibujaré con mi canto, y serás tu zapata, que me escucho tocándome en la mañanita. Come to me, supreme chief of the revolutionary movement of the South, fly home like falcon, roost in my mouth, and yet remain free, as we understand the battle is left at the door. Enter, and on my knees, I'll remove your boots and your shame of tears. As you overthrew the Capitol, so do me now. Here has always been my wish. Eye to eye, ojo a ojo, frente a frente, raíces enredándose, jamás seremos vencidos, never again to be defeated. The smell of earth and death disturbed into flight by our forelegs, forged in steel like hands, carved from the dust that flies to the beat of the earth, as your eyes understand my fight and your hands recover my lands, is promised a time of truth and justice. And now rest, face buried in my chest, inhaling sweat and tears from my breast, lost in my blood, hint of copper on your lips. Kiss me, and I will finally find a homeland, Aslan, an aura of your crown, magic from where the others turn and run, yet I stand ground and call, Oleme, in the smoke of your body, riddled with bullets fired from every of their rifles until empty, escúchame, in the laughter of 50,000 pesos, besos el traidor, mátenlo. And then in the footsteps of the burro that carried you home to Cuautla for half the bounty, your body photographed and displayed as proof of your non-existence. So why did the one have to die for you to arrive as between the two? Who is truth? As still, your horse can be seen galloping, prancing, bucking, reflecting silver under the sun, even as time for talk is done. Nothing now but await your hoofbeat. You just reach your arm for my leap, and we will raise dust from this place, silver-tongued sages flapping, while you and I finally ride away. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anna. And now we go to the branch manager, Jennifer Lee. She is the manager here at the South Broadway Library, to tell us a little bit about the library.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Lee, Site Supervisor of the South Broadway Francis Parish Branch Library. The library originally was the Albuquerque Model Cities Library and Cultural Center. It opened its doors in February of 1970. It was originally located at 306 Lead Avenue on Broadway, and a second location primarily for children opened on 1607 South Broadway Avenue soon after. The library was intended to be an experiment in different forms of library service. The library staff held filmmaking workshops, there was a drama group, they had a choir and tutoring, very innovative and unique library programs for its time. 3 years later, in July of 1972, the library relocated to 1025 Broadway Avenue Southeast, and it has been at this location ever since. In May of 1979, it became the South Broadway Cultural Center. The goal and purpose of South Broadway as a cultural center was to represent the cultural heritage of its South Valley constituents. The current South Broadway Cultural Center building was completed in 1994. There was a huge community celebration featuring Rodolfo Anaya, Mayor Martin Chavez, and storyteller Estefanita Martinez. The center today comprises of a 310-seat theater, a gallery, a multi-purpose space, and the 9,000 square foot library you see today. I like to think that we still have the innovative spirit regarding programming and collections like the original Albuquerque Model Cities Library. In addition to traditional programs like storytime and craft activities, we also have the ABQ Burnco Seed Library. The Seed Library was established in 2014 and has been housed at the South Broadway Library for the last 4 years. Our mission is to encourage a community of water-wise gardeners by offering free vegetable, herb, and flower seeds to cardholders and by offering free monthly related garden programs. So whether you want to start a garden, take your kids to a fun and educational STEM program, or just find some good DVDs to watch over the weekend, come to the South Broadway Library. We are so much more than a building filled with books. We are part of your community.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. It was wonderful to learn about the South Broadway Library. And now we go indoors to hear from the community poets who live in the neighborhood of the South Broadway Library. Welcome to the Community Poets segment of the South Broadway Library feature of the Poets in the Library series. We have some outstanding poets in every neighborhood of this city, and South Broadway is no exception. We also have opened up the rest of the series to any poet throughout Albuquerque who missed their particular library segment. So one or more of the people may not be in the actual adjacent neighborhood, but the first one definitely is today. He signed up for this library very early on in this process. His name is Jeff Hartzer. Jeff Hartzer is the author of Flamingos, a storytelling set of 18 poems set to a soundscape, which is on a CD enclosed with the enclosed book. He has lived in Albuquerque since 1985, and since 1993 has been a homeowner on Edith Boulevard, 2 blocks from the South Broadway Library. He has also worked to bring the library to that location, which used to be a 7-Eleven. And he also lobbied to get sidewalks put in by the library so people could walk on the sidewalk to get to the library. So he's definitely a South Broadway Library community resident. So please give a warm welcome to Jeff Hartzer.
Hello, I'm Jeff. My wife and I also this summer sold our Air Dance art space, which was out in the South Valley. So my poetry venues have been shrunken, and I'm very happy for Mary to have set all this up for us and delighted that she is the Poet Laureate of Albuquerque. I happen to know Hakeem Bellamy, who was the very first Poet Laureate, good friend of mine. I have 2 poems for you today. One is called Floors, and I will begin with that. Floors. In early grades, especially first and second, I liked lying on the floor and napping. The floor was water heated and crayons would melt if you left them there. There was a contour to the floor, a flattened shape one could breathe into. It was a comfort to nap with other children and a genuinely safe time to rest with a person, the teacher, awakening you at a regular time. There was no idea of intrusion. There was safety in floors, water heated with blankets, and we all melted like crayons into that dusty pinkish floor, not unlike the floors of heaven on a good day. My mother passed away in the month of April, and I recall reading this next poem at her gravesite in the state of Florida. I am a Florida man, except I'd rather say I'm a Florida native. But her beautiful cemetery area was called Evergreen Cemetery in Jacksonville, Florida, with oak trees and moss and everything else. This poem is called In a Private Place of Trees. In a private place of trees, I am alive. For me and for you. I am alive that I may breathe and eat sweet cookies. And though I am not a bird, I am alive that I may fly, to love the art of flying and love the way the earth breathes and is alive in this private place of trees. I am alive, and today I leave you behind in all of your private places, while I begin my climb, walking right up through these trees on this rope ladder to the sky. I walk right up from the arms of this earth, bare tree limbs calling to spring. I walk right up from the earth that moves beneath you like a giant sleeping bear about to waken from his sleep. In this private place of trees, I am alive, and I climb right up from your opened arms into the breath of this perfect sky. I'm really happy with the South Broadway Library. This is my library card. I never leave home without it. My wife is currently watching a movie on Roku that came from the library. My father, when I was young, always supported the Jacksonville Library. I went as a child to Willow Branch Library and was happy to get away from my mother and father and just became a huge reader. And the reason I had floors here is because the Willow Branch Library had wooden floors, and libraries have a particular smell to them in the old days. Anyway, we're very grateful for the South Broadway Library, which is 2 blocks from Bunnytown, USA, right here on Edith Boulevard. Thank you so much, Mary and the City of Albuquerque, for having me today.
Thank you, Jeff. That was a wonderful addition to this whole series. So thank you for your patience waiting for nearly 2 years to participate until it came to your local library. Really appreciate that. And thank you for talking about the floors of heaven. I've never heard anyone talk about that. Very good. Thank you so much. And now our second featured poet is Mary Ortel Kirshner. Mary Ortel Kirshner is an Albuquerque poet whose work has appeared in several publications, including Sin Fronteras Journal, Santa Fe Literary Review, Adobe Walls, and Fixed and Free anthologies. She belongs to a group of women poets who have been meeting in Albuquerque for 25 years and who have produced 2 chapbooks, Quartet and Quintet. Mary also writes fiction and has published 2, quotes, cozy mysteries with Albuquerque Press. Please welcome Mary Ortel Kirshner.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you very much. I'm going to read 2 short poems today, really drawn from my walks every other day for years now in the Bosque along the Rio Grande, one of my favorite places. And both of these draw from my experiences there. The first poem is called I Walk with a Heron. The great blue heron, a blue-gray embodiment of elegance, accompanied me along the irrigation channel one morning. He in the water, me abreast on a sandy bank. He stood silently while I stopped to admire him, then flutter flew 20 feet ahead and waited until I drew up alongside him again. I studied his graceful form, his spear-like bill, his watchful eye, his impossibly long, thin legs. He had to know I was there. In minutes, he took off on another fluttering flight and stopped 20 feet ahead again, standing still until I reached him. I spoke softly for the wonder of our meeting. He waited patiently, taking off again low to the water. 5 times he flew and waited. 5 times I studied him from the bank. When we neared the end of the channel, he spread his airplane wings, rose high and turned, heading home to the Rio Grande. Now I know a heron hasn't written about this, most likely hasn't held the memory of walking with a human creature. Still, there is something undeniable about our encounter, and I'm tucking it away in a place where I keep my best treasures. My second poem, also drawn from my walks in the Bosque, is called Cathedral in the Woods. I'm on my morning walk, counting steps on my Fitbit while stewing over the state of things, the life-threatening pandemic, the rampant racism, the bitter politics of right versus left. I'm absorbed in these thoughts when I see a stranger coming towards me on the path, a woman about my age with a circle of silver curls rounding her cheery face. I just love this place, she enthused as we pass. It's like a cathedral. Her words stop my dark reverie, and I look up to lush cottonwoods rising 30 feet over my head. Their limbs reach across the sandy trail and touch like Gothic arches in a sacred space. I am far from religion and only visit cathedrals in foreign cities. But the peace and beauty of this moment move me, and I linger under the luscious canopy of heart-shaped leaves. A cerulean blue sky flickers beyond the green. I don't remember how to pray, but think I'm close. I feel a sudden rush of gratitude for walking in such beauty, for all the fortune in my life, for the ease of being on a path pounded smooth by those who've traveled it before me. I hear myself saying, right out loud, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mary. Yes, trees, a cathedral. Definitely, I get that completely. Yes, the sacred in nature. That's definitely a theme of the poems that have been submitted so far to the anthology of this series, which will be published either late this year or sometime in 2023. So it's really, it's a common thing with poets, where from Mary Oliver to, you, Mary Ortel Kirshner, we have a real love for nature.
We do.
Yeah, it's where we draw our strength, I think, especially in these difficult times.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mary, for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for participating.
You bet.
Our next community poet is Katrina Kaye. And Katrina Kaye is a writer and educator seeking an audience for her ever-growing surplus of poetic meanderings. Find previously published writing on her website, ironandsulfur.com. Please welcome Katrina Kaye.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Mary, for hosting. I have just one poem today. It's called Crack. If the storm did come, I fear my first instinct would be to walk to the apex, bold and frenzied. My streets have been dry for too long, leaving me desperate to stand in the rain. I would trade my sight for the scent of distant thunder, my taste for the prickle of hair twirled in every direction. I have prayed for destruction. But what do I know? My mother was never ripped into the sky by twisting clouds. My house never blown down despite the coyotes that surround back door. I have never wakened to shattered glass underneath my morning feet. Why should I distress the wrath of weather when my New Mexico sky is endless blue? My sun bright enough, I see only red in the darkness. I want the storm, the wind, the water. I want to be ravaged by the wrath of unkind gods. I know this wish may not be kind. Threats of storms ravage those who prefer to hold tight to rock and earth and toss bodies like crumpled paper, hoping to cling on to abandoned words. I have not felt that windfall, and I do not seek to inhabit the pain of others. But I can't help to search the sky for gathering clouds and sit pale in the wind, hoping for the sky to crack. Thank you very much. And thank you, Mary, for inviting me and putting this together. I really appreciate you.
I wish you would have had another poem.
Sorry, I only did one.
That's all right. It was a wonderful one. And I think, disaster, from what's happening in Ukraine to what's been happening here in terms of natural disasters, it's really, a theme on everybody's mind. So thank you for addressing that. Katrina does so much and has done so much for local poets here in Albuquerque. In case you're unfamiliar, she started the the publication Swimming with Elephants publications. And she has recently turned that over to a new owner, but she worked diligently on that and brought so many poets, not just from Albuquerque, but from all over the country. And it's just amazing what she's done. So I'm very proud and happy to have her participate in this series. And again, her website is ironandsulfur.com. So I hope that you'll avail yourself of that and see what other wonderful poems she has come up with out of her life and experiences. So thank you so much to the three of you and to our two featured poets today. Thank you so much. I hope that you will, if you are an Albuquerque poet, participate in the few remaining libraries. There's the Main and Genealogy Library downtown, the Special Collections Library in the Edo District. There's Westgate Library, which is, I think, far South Valley. There's Tony Hillerman Library, and believe it or not, Albuquerque has a library in the East Mountains. So there's the East Mountains Library. If you participate in this series as a community poet, you will also be invited to participate and submit work for an anthology that will be showcasing the poets in the library's poets. And also we're working on a grand finale, which has not been finalized yet, but that will be an in-person show. So if you are, it will only be open to poets who have participated in this series. So if you are a poet in Albuquerque, it doesn't matter if you've been published or not, if you performed your poetry before or not. We've had people who have never performed their poetry before who have participated in this series. And we have people who are Pushcart Prize recipients and all sorts of other award-winning poets. So slam champions, etc. And so you are welcome, any age, any level, as long as you are a resident of Albuquerque, or when we go to the East Mountains, if you're a resident of the East Mountains. So the way you can get in touch with me for the very simple guidelines are abqpoetlaureateprogram@gmail.com. It's on the bottom of the screen. abqpoetlaureateprogram@gmail.com. I'm sorry it's such a long address, but I didn't devise the address for that. But anyway, I hope to see you again, where you come back and join us for the next library feature and participate in it if you are an Albuquerque or East Mountain poet. Thank you so much. My name is Oishi, and I've enjoyed this day with you.